Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
This is Ed Cohen. Welcome back to Global Business News TV Talk Show. The Global TV Talk Show Network began in March of 2020. Since then, we've been able to produce and distribute almost 400 broadcasts, some better than others, some longer, shorter, but all of them have been fun doing, frankly. And we're very thankful to our advertisers and co-sponsors and our friends for sticking with us all this time. Google Analytics has measured 140,000 audience page views on our site since beginning the series. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of eyeballs, including over 6,000 during the past 30 days. So that's about 30% increase over August, July, August. So thank you very much. And here's one of the reasons why we've been a success at this. Nadine Vogel is a superstar and a good friend also. She has spoken at our live meetings in the past and has also been on our broadcast. And the reason why is because she is in demand to speak about disabilities in the workplace. Companies are taught how to hire the disabled and why, and what the benefits are. And here's Nadine. Hello.
Hello, Ed. How are you?
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Happy holiday season to you.
You as well.
Yeah, so Springboard Foundation. Let's start with that. What is that today?
The foundation or the company?
The foundation.
Oh, okay. So Springboard has a foundation that provides scholarships to college students with disabilities.
That's it, right? People who need help.
That's simple. It's a foundation affiliated with the company, Springboard Consulting, which falls under the umbrella of Springboard Global Enterprises.
Good for you, entrepreneur. So did you grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur?
No, I grew up wanting to be the CEO of a major corporation, and I spent 20 years in corporate as an executive, climbing that ladder, and then decided I had a better way to do this.
Good for you. So your personal experience was a driver, right?
Oh, absolutely. Relative to disability, I have 2 adult daughters. Yes, and my oldest in particular has significant disabilities. But
they've both become gainfully employed.
Absolutely. My oldest actually works for Springboard. She's a college graduate. My younger daughter graduated college just a little under a year ago, is working in Manhattan. So yes, 2 happy, healthy, independent young women, thankfully. But, obviously, especially my older one, dealing with significant disabilities for the rest of her life.
So is that Gretchen?
Yes, that's Gretchen.
Good. Okay. All right. Now, how has the pandemic impacted your work? I know it's a loaded question.
Yeah, so let me take a step back, right? So Springboard Consulting, we work with corporations in over 40 some odd countries to mainstream people with disabilities in the workforce, the workplace, and the marketplace. So in our work with corporations, you would think when COVID hit, everything would have, just come to a halt. But what happened was it took a different turn. And the reason it took a different turn is before COVID, you had individuals with significant disabilities who said, it would be easier for them to work remotely. And we're told, no, you have to be in the office, et cetera. Well, what companies found was these individuals with disabilities were very ready, willing, and able to work remotely. That's how they were engaging with folks. And so they were able to jump in quickly. You had the pandemic causing businesses having difficulty hiring people with disabilities, or hiring in general. Well, we have all these people with disabilities that are ready, willing, able, talented, college educated to be hired. And so they're filling that need. So actually, it's been rather positive from that standpoint. The other thing that folks may not know is recently the EEOC has come out with that long haul COVID, those experiencing long haul COVID, is now a disability under the ADA. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone that has long haul COVID is receiving an accommodation or needs to, but rather it is a protected class now under the ADA. So also, if you think about, to your question, how has COVID impacted? There's lots of ways. If you're in a situation where we're still wearing masks, either in a particular country or an office, and someone reads lips, we have to consider the masks that have the clear panel in the front, right? Otherwise, you can't do that. So there's lots of things that are happening. Mental health issues. We've seen a significant increase in anxiety and depression among folks as a result of COVID. Some because they couldn't be in the office, some because they had to stay home, some because now they're going back to the office. We had a situation I'd love to share. We were facilitating a group for a company, and there was two individuals on this call, both who have, one is completely deaf and one has hearing loss. And both said that they were really upset about going back to the office physically, because now that they've been working from home, all of the meetings are on Zoom or some other platform where captioning is immediate, is automatic, and they can engage with everyone. Now they said they're going to go back to an in-person environment, and they're not going to have that same level of engagement. So that was a long answer to a short question, but there's so many ripple effects.
So I can just imagine here, my mind is racing because I've just had coffee. So it's just after 8 a.m. here. So think of the world of artificial intelligence, virtual, okay, futuristic.
Yeah.
And there's a disabled person in the office without the benefit of the captioning. Right? And so would it be possible for people with certain goggles or something to see a captioning when that person speaks?
So interestingly enough, the long answer is I suspect there will be, if it's not already someplace out there, right? Because technology is moving fast. But there are phones now already that you can be in a conference room and what someone is saying, the words are appearing on the small screen on the phone itself. So some of that is already there. So I guess the short answer is yes, I can only imagine.
It's super cool. Wow.
Yeah, very cool. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about what reinventions did you experience, personal reinventions for your product or your brand or yourself since March, April of 2020?
Interesting about reinventing, because to reinvent means you want to make something either better or do something differently. And for us, that did happen, but differently than for most, because Springboard has been working in this remote world globally for so many years. We produce conferences. Our big conference for years has had a simultaneous virtual part to it, even before COVID. So for us, that quote unquote pivot that everybody's talked about, we didn't have to do that. We already had it there. I think the reinvention, and I wouldn't say reinvention for us, I would call it expansion, in that we had a mental health practice before COVID. It has expanded. We've had accommodation processes in place because of long haul COVID. That's expanded. So I think that it's really more the fact that we've maybe gone deeper and gone broader, but really not doing anything all that different.
So you have a new book, right?
I have an old book.
You have an old book? So tell us about, inform me and the audience about this topic called menopause. Now, there was a Broadway comedy about this, right?
Yes, Menopause, the musical, yes. And I did see it, although watching the musical, I did laugh. It was very funny. However, experiencing it myself, it's not funny at all.
So it's more than hot flashes, right?
It's more than hot flashes.
Why don't you, I mean, all the women out there are going to know, but there's a lot of guys in my audience. So why don't you educate me?
Yeah. First of all, let's talk about it. So the reason you might think, first of all, why is Springboard, who does work on disability, talking about menopause? So in countries such as England, Wales, for example, menopause is a protected class under their disability regulation. It is a disability. So you have large corporations, for any of our listeners, if you're in those two countries as an example, we know some of you have entire departments just focused on menopause. Some of you may be shocked to hear that, but that is the case. It is a protected class under disability. It is not yet that in the US, but I do say yet, because I do believe in the next few years, we will see that coming. But it's like that last taboo in the workplace. Nobody's comfortable talking about it. Here's the issue. It not only affects, let's start with the women it impacts. So perimenopause typically can start as early as late 30s or 40 years old. If we go all the way through menopause post, it's probably till about 60, 62. That's a very large group of individuals having these symptoms and experiences and afraid to talk about it in the workplace. That's
for a long time.
And for a long time. Exactly. I got my first hot flash. I was 40 years old. I was driving. It was actually on my birthday. I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart started racing. I got all red. I was sweating. I almost drove myself to the emergency room. And it was a hot flash. So put that in perspective, right? But think about the ages I just mentioned. These are the ages that women are either moving into or in executive leadership, senior management. All of these corporations, everybody today, talks about getting more women into senior roles. If that is truly our wish and we have a strategy behind it, how have we incorporated the issue of menopause into that strategy? And not as something to prevent a woman from being in leadership, but rather just to understand and make sure that there are policies and protocols and other supports so that that woman doesn't have to hide. When Hillary Clinton was running for office, for president, I remember very vividly people saying, oh my gosh, what will happen? Is she going to, keep her away from the nuke button when she has her period, or if she's going through menopause? I mean, really? Right? So we have to understand that it's not funny. These are real symptoms that are mental. You have depression, you have anxiety, there are emotional issues, there are physical issues. And the more executive women we talk to, the more they say, because they're at the level they're at, even more so, they're afraid to talk about it. They worked really hard to get there, and they don't want someone to say, oh, does that mean now you can't lead this organization or run this organization? It doesn't just impact cis women, traditional women, it impacts folks who are transgender. It impacts every part of that community.
I never thought of that. Wow.
Yeah. Now think of the men. You are either a partner, a spouse, a colleague, a boss of someone probably going through this, right? A brother, whatever. So how are you dealing with that? From a supporter, from an ally standpoint, number one. Number two, I don't know if you're aware of this, but men who go through prostate cancer, one of the drugs is almost causes like a chemical castration, and the men have the same symptoms as women going through menopause, the hot flashes, all of that. So this is something we need to get comfortable talking about, and not, this is not just some issue we should sweep under the table. We need to look at it from our group health benefits, where that is, from our psychological or mental health policies and practices, our accommodations. Now, while it's not a legal disability, so we can't put it under a reasonable accommodation, we still should be able to accommodate women going through this if needed, no different than we would provide, flex time for something for someone. You don't have to have a disability to qualify for that. So you take a step back now and you start thinking about the numbers it's impacting, the age at which it's impacting, in some cases, the severity and length of time of impact. You think, why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we addressing it in the workplace? And so for Springboard, we have under Springboard Global Enterprises, we have a company called the WIP Group, Women Influence and Power. And this is really a collaborative effort between Springboard and the WIP Group to come to companies and help them understand the issues. We have facilitated dialogues, training programs, policy and procedure development, all of those things, so that we can really come together and mainstream menopause.
I'm almost speechless here.
And I know that's rare for you, Ed.
Hi, this is Ed, and I thank you for tuning in to Global TV Talk Show, a unit on globalbusinessnews.net. We broadcast to the world, as you know by now. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that our programs are advertising supported. We're grateful for co-sponsors, advertisers. They have a marketing budget coupled with a strong desire to be associated with our top quality program. And of course, I'm grateful. Thank you. So for the next few minutes, you're going to see some commercials. It's mostly very low key, and our prices are very, very reasonable. Our exposure for the advertisers go 12 months and beyond. Some of our advertisers have been with us since March, April of 2020. And Google Analytics has tracked over 125,000 what they call audience page views, which means you looking at this page, that's a page view. Now, if you happen to go to one of our other shows or to our radio broadcasts or to our newspaper or magazine, those become additional page views as measured by Google Analytics. And so when they say 125,000 since spring of 2020 up through Labor Day, a month ago, that's pretty good numbers. And the past 30 days, Google Analytics has measured just under 6,000 audience page views. And that, according to them, is a 42% increase in audience participation over the month of August. So thank you very much. Well, here's our advertisers, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes or so, and we'll proceed with this interesting conversation. Thank you.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Okay, so let me ask you about this lady, Mary Barra, who's CEO, I think, of General Motors Corporation, which is really a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
So, as a woman, professional with a specialty in this field, when you look at, if you watch her, if you follow her, or someone like that,
Yes.
are you watching to see if she's managing this quote unquote disability in a certain way? I don't even know what to say that's proper or improper. So.
No, I think, it's funny. I'll give you an example. I was watching a female CEO give a presentation at a conference, because it was before COVID. And while she was in the middle of her presentation, I could see her just starting to get a little red in the face. Her hair was pulled back into like a bun. And I could see her ears getting a little red. I was sitting in like the second row. And I could see the tops of her ears getting red. I saw her getting red in the face. And I could see she started really sweating. And the woman next to me looked at me. We looked at each other. We said, yeah, there it goes. Where are the fans? Bring the fans out for her. And it was one of those things that afterwards, that evening, actually, there was a cocktail reception. And the woman I was sitting next to, we were talking with the CEO. And I said, this might be inappropriate to say, but, we noticed X. And she goes, do you think everyone noticed? Because that's exactly what it was. And it was funny.
So it was on a big screen broadcast to the whole audience?
Yeah, she was on a big stage. It was like 1,000 people there.
So wasn't she embarrassed, or is it just,
for her,
you just don't show anything, right?
You just keep going. It's like what they say when you're on live TV. If you make a mistake, you just keep going, keep talking.
Been there, done that.
And so the hope is, on the part of women is no one will notice. Now, I can give you a personal story. I was actually leading a training for a company. It was probably about 75 or 80, I would say almost all men. There might have been one woman in there. Most of the men, I would say, were in the age range of 50s, 60s. And I had a similar experience while I was delivering the training. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be, one of the gentlemen sitting at the front round tables, because it was a fairly informal training, said, Nadine, do you need the AC turned up? Because it was obvious.
So did everybody laugh, or did everybody say?
Everybody laughed. And I said, actually, that would be really good. You know what? Yes, do that. Of course, then once the AC was turned up after about 10 minutes, I was freezing. And I needed
right.
What happened was that we went on break, and the gentleman came up to me and said, I hope you didn't mind me saying that, but my wife is of a similar age, and I know immediately what's going on. And it was just, it was funny because some of the other men there joined in and said, oh, I know my wife, my daughter, whatever. I loved it because the men felt that comfortable to have that conversation. That is a rarity.
So
get that comfort level out there.
So
part of it is getting an understanding, myth versus fact.
So this broadcast could be seen by 500,000 people eventually. I know. So if there are any words of wisdom here as we come to a close, I think we ought to end this.
Right, end it well again, right? So, what I would say is that this is something that is real. It's almost like in many cases an invisible disability that just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not real, doesn't mean it's not impactful. But it's not something that a very small percentage of our population is impacted by.
Yeah.
And a large percentage of people in the workplace. So what I would, ask all of our listeners.
Like bring a fan or something.
There you go. Listen, I have a fan next to me, below me, but the thing is that's just one symptom, right? I spoke to someone yesterday. She said, Nadine, if you look at me wrong, I start to cry. She said, for no reason. I get emotional. I said, and not everybody going through this has those symptoms, but a lot of us do, and some even more severe. And so my ask to anyone who's listening, no matter where in the world you are, is to think about how to take this seriously. Reach out to me. I'm happy to share more information, statistics, research, all kinds of things, and ways to really bring this, I'll say, appropriately to your workplace. And appropriate will be different depending on what country you're in, right? The nature of your business, all of that. But, this is something that is a big deal, and we need to start addressing it. So, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm Nadine, Nadine, at consultspringboard.com. Just reach out to me and I'm happy to help. Subject line, put menopause and ed.
Menopause, the talk show, not the musical.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see Nadine, the Vogel's name right on the picture here. And so go to LinkedIn and you'll see all her stuff. It's really impressive. And I really thank you for bringing this chair and this insight, this really interesting personal and business topic to our screen. And please come back in the new year.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.